Well, firstly, thank you to Casual Connect for inviting me along to another great year. What they asked me to do is to present some customer data, actual direct player data, in an area that is non-conventional for Casual Connect. So we'll go into the detail of it, but there's a lot of talk about monetization, XP curves, leveling, SKUs, and very little talk of certain other key things that may or may not be very, very important to the player's purchase decision and the monetization. And this applies to social casino, which is where our primary focus is, but also to other types of social gaming as well. So I'll take you through lots of graphs and lots of charts which have come directly from players and tells us exactly what the players really want rather than our opinions in the industry. So very quickly, TraffGen, we're founded in 2011. We are involved in the convergence between land-based and social casino. We work with some of the largest names in the US casino industry. We work with some of the top 5 social casino companies, and also people like GTech and Casinos Austria in Europe. And we provide marketing tools based upon really cool tech, artificial intelligence, natural language processing, hunter-seeker behavior with segmentation work, very powerful marketing tools for anybody who's interested in a convergence between one platform and another platform. We uniquely manage to capture social sentiment and player opinion, and we tie that into CRM campaigns, player development, which is monetization, maximization, gameplay, app design. And an output of this is that we engage with hundreds and hundreds of thousands of players every month around the world. And these players are in social communities, fan groups, apps, they're in forums, and we're talking to them directly through our bots and also through our teams of moderators. And that gave us an opportunity to actually do surveys and insight projects to understand what the hell these people want. Because there are some really smart people at this show, and the industry is populated by fabulous people. You guys are all super, super smart, I'm sure. But sometimes we actually need to stop and ask the players what they want. And so that's what Casual Connect asked us to do. So the data you're going to see was gathered in the last 3 weeks, is from a cohort of about 11,000 social casino players. We'll go through the demographics of it. And it was both active and passive surveying. So we were reaching out to people and asking them a direct question. And for other people, we were listening to what they were saying and seeing what they were feeling. So at the moment, at Casual Connect this year and in all the shows, the apps seem to be fighting with each other to be the best at level optimization, segmentation and BI, SKU design. We're looking at secondary and third currencies, getting the game designs right with the social hooks, and building perceived value. This is a good thing to play. This is for everybody. Community outreach is done a little bit with the more imaginative app designers. And campaign management, as we heard in the previous session, really, really important. But what about player development? Now, player development is something that comes from the land-based and the online gambling industries, and is beyond customer service. This is about value maximization. This is about all the touch points with the customer and making sure they spend as much money as humanly possible. So really, we wanted to find the one thing that no one was going to talk about at this event. And player development is exactly that. It's the ugly stepchild of the industry. It's the spotty kid who nobody wants to talk to. Everybody has it. All the app developers in this room and in this conference have customer service. And they do some player development. But we never talk about it, and we assume that it's probably not that important. But it gives an opportunity in a market that's getting ever harder to differentiate. All of you are managing your SKUs. All of you are managing your levels. All of you are managing your promotional campaigns, and you're all doing the same thing. And some are doing it better, some of them are doing it worse. But our question was really, can doing positive, proactive customer service as part of a player development cycle actually deliver anything that the customer wants? And so we set out to ask the players. So this is the group of people that we spoke to. It was roughly 11,000. And they were primarily from social casinos and slot games. There was some bingo in there, and there was a small proportion of video poker, which we think is a very exciting market for the future. We have one of the leading lights of the video poker world there. Vast majority of them are in the US. The rest of the world are your tier 1 countries. So we've got your Canada, New Zealand, Australia. They're all inside there. Gender balance, we kept it roughly the same that people will see in social casino games. Slightly more women than men. And a critical thing is we made sure that all the people that we spoke to played at least 2 games. Absolute minimum. Most of them, the mean number was about 4.5. So we've got Slotomania, Caesars, Double Down, Big Fish. We've also got some small ones that you won't have heard of, which are kind of people like Trophy Slots, who have maybe 150,000 MAU. They've got very high ARPUs, but they're very small niche business. And those niche businesses tend to be very, very good at looking after their VIPs and their high rollers. So that was a cohort that we put together for you. And we will come back to these guys and we'll ask them again in another month. And what we'll do, we will publish this data on our website and we'll share it with Casual Connect so you can come back and see how it's changing over time. So the first question we asked was a really, really simple one. How important is customer service to you? Do you care about it? Do you know about it? Does it mean anything to you at all? And what was quite clear from the data, this is 11,000 social casino players. They care about this a lot. So you can see from the data there, what have we got? We've got, crikey, 70-odd%, 80% of the customers think that it's either somewhat or extremely important, the customer service experience they get. Yet, despite this heavy skewing in one direction, we never talk about it. We never discuss it. It just doesn't come up. So that led us down into another place. So if it is important to you, how do you currently rate the customer service experience that you get? Now that would include VIP managers, key account managers, and that would include problem resolution. But it would also be VIPs and high rollers, people who are spending more than $100 a month, contacting the app and saying, I want a better package, give me something more, and building those relationships. And so what we can see as an industry, we're doing pretty damn well. It's skewed to 50% and above. And we've got 20% of the customers say they get a perfect experience. Now, is that because we do such a good job, or is it because of their expectations? And we'll go into that a little bit in a second. But what we can see is that as we move down, you still got a significant proportion of the players who are not getting a good experience. And if we tie that into the vast majority of people saying it's important to us, then we've got something slightly worrying. So if we establish that it's an important thing and that people are more or less having a reasonable time, what is the best way to communicate with an app? So we asked players, and we split it out on a gender basis because we didn't know whether men and women would see this differently. And again, the results were quite interesting. Men were quite clear in stating they don't really need to talk to people, that they seem to want to be able to resolve things in the app. Is that FAQs? Is that tutorials? Is that fly-throughs? Can they manage it themselves? Is it more of a solitary experience? Women were a lot more skewed towards to being able to engage with human beings. And perhaps this would back up the experience that most of us have, where women are more social, they probably have a higher K factor, especially amongst the purchasers. They're involved in fan groups, they're gifters. And I'm assuming we all know what gifters are, people who are have big social groups and are constantly sharing power-ups and time bonuses with each other. But we can see there is a difference there between men and the women. But critically, how you design your app is important because people, the majority, want to resolve their issues within there. So, the customers run into a problem. Where do they go to for their information? Well, the obvious place for most social apps is either an FAQ or a community page. And so we asked the players, do you go to the community page? Because that is the sort of customer service 101 in a social gaming app says you must have a link to a community page, especially if you're a desktop app. In mobile, obviously, it's harder. And again, we see that for the vast majority of players, and it's almost equal male and female, they do go to the community page. So what does that mean for you guys as app developers and operators? Well, it means that you need to take your community seriously. You've got nearly 70% of women and 55% of men, are the first place they go into to resolve an issue is the community. Yet, if you look at a lot of the big communities, and I'm not going to mention any names, but you go to any of the top 5, the communities become very passive promotional organs. They're just pushing promotions. There's a 2-for-1 coin offer, 3-for-1 coin offer, there's a tournament running. But it's not used as a point to actually engage and resolve customers' issues. Yet that's the place that customers are going to. So it's something I would encourage all app developers to look at, is actually why are you using your community and why people are going there. So then, if they go to the community, they're going to expect that their problem or issue or problem is going to be resolved by a human being. But an app has an opportunity to go beyond the community and actually build a one-to-one relationship. That's where you might use PMs, pumping individual dark posts, sending emails, even a telephone call, potentially. And so we ask the customers, how important is a one-to-one relationship for you? And we can see again that it's skewed towards, this is actually quite important, that they want to know a person. They might not know their real name, but they want to build a relationship. And in our experience of actually helping clients with customer service, we've seen that the high rollers, the most valuable customers, do value that opportunity to know a name via email or PM. The next question we asked was very important in terms of what kind of customer service infrastructure do you build? If we assume that all this data is correct, if you want to do a less than 30-minute response time via your community, you need to have chat mods running 24/7. Okay? These mods might be players, which is what we do in the communities that we run. They might be paid moderators. The players are good because you don't actually have to play them a great deal. And they already know the game inside out. In fact, they probably know the game better than you do. And they want to see behind the Wizard of Oz's curtain. They want to see behind what's happening backstage. And if you welcome them into your community and make them participate, we've seen that player values increase for those players, and the virality of those players increase, and they also can cope with problems an awful lot better. But that is the only way you can get instant responses. So if we look at the data, we can see that the vast majority of customers actually expect to get a response in 4 to 12 hours. And the sub-segment of that data showed that it was at the higher end as well. So most players want to get a response in actually 8 to 12 hours. So for your customer service systems you put in place, you need to bear that in mind. So when you're building, so does that mean you don't need to have 24/7? Really? You don't need to have a telephone call center. This is not banking. People are not having an expectation that they need an instant response. So you can do things with email, you can do things with PMs, you can do things within community and in-app communications, but you don't have to do it instantly. And that changes the economics of the whole thing completely. Because if you take out the requirement to do a comprehensive instant response, you can shrink your team right down. Depending on the volume of your business, you can have a handful of representatives managing these players, and you can try to automate a lot of the systems. You don't have to build a huge, expensive system. So then, now we've established from the customers what's important to them and what they feel is required from us as app operators. We wanted to look at what actually would be the consequences of good customer service. Because what's the point in delivering it if it makes no difference to the customer behavior? So we asked them, what are they likely to do? Now remember, this is player opinion. These aren't taken by watching players behave, judging the customer service, and then monitoring how they behave in an app. This is just asking them, what would you do if you got good customer service? The smallest segment of the pie chart there is a purchase, but I'm frankly astonished it's so high. We're saying that 8% of the 11,000 people that we asked are saying that if they received consistently good customer service, it would encourage them to purchase more often. 8% is huge. And I don't know, going around the room, what your conversion rates are from fun money to real money, but I'm guessing it's not 8%. So there's a big chunk of people there who will spend more money if you treat them well. The next one up from that is the purple one, recommend. So we're saying a quarter of that 11,000 people are saying that if they receive good customer service, are going to behave virally. They're going to have a high K-factor behavior. which means they're going to acquire more customers for you, or at least re-engage with the customers who have left who are their friends. Tying that into your organic traffic and your player management is a really interesting concept, but is certainly a compelling reason to do good customer service. The other two, which is the vast majority, are about reactivation and retention. So if we go to the larger one, which is to play the game again, that means they're just going to come back and they're going to keep playing. That makes sense, and I think we'd all agree, logically, that's understandable. But the 31% there, which is to play a game more than the others, means that you're capturing players from your competitors. We know there is a finite number of players out there. We know that the big boys and the big girls are capturing vast numbers of players. So if you're a small app, the idea of being able to steal customers off your competitors, off the big boys, by doing something as simple as managing your player development well, is again a very, very powerful message. Small people can do this. Small apps can do this. You've got 200,000 MAUs, right? It might seem an insurmountable job to take on the big fishes and the double downs and the slotomanias, but you can do this. You don't need, in fact, you've got an advantage if you are small, because you can have one-to-one relationships and feed that information back into your product development. So we then spoke to people who are purchasers, very specifically. So this was a subsegment of the total group. And this was going back to something that we've seen over the several years that we've been doing this. Players expecting good service when they spend money. Now that could be a $4.99 coin package. It could be consistently spending $1,000 a month. But we wanted to understand, do they actually expect anything for spending that money? Because what are they getting? They're getting virtual goods, they're getting progressions, they're getting bragging rights, they're getting unlocking of games, they're getting access to new areas in a saga. But beyond that, do they expect anything else? And the absolutely clear data is telling us that they do. So what does that mean for us? It means you can split your customer service provision into two. Because if you accept that it's the purchasers in their mind are saying, I will accept a lower customer service provision if I don't purchase, but when I purchase, I want to be treated like a god, you can then skew your customer service and focus it on that. Which again, you don't need big expensive systems and massive teams to do that. You just treat your purchasers phenomenally well. And it guides everything that you can do in terms of your player retention. So think about extending this concept into promotional performance. When I purchase, I expect to get better promotions. I expect to get higher re-ups, bigger purchase to bonus ratios. I think we can logically extend this into that and to start saying, okay, I'm now going to segment my promotions out and I'm going to really focus my effort on those guys. Now, a lot of people will be doing that every day anyway, but extending the customer service experience to them is really, really important. So we've looked at purchases and what's important to them. Now I wanted to take it down into an even smaller group. So these are gifters. So as I mentioned before, and this is for anybody who doesn't know what a gifter is, these are players who typically have at least hundreds of friends, but probably thousands. They congregate in social groups. And Slotomania are the great proponents of this. They've done a fantastic job by having Slotomania fan friends, Slotomania lovers, all this kind of stuff, where big groups of people get together and they gift, they share. Highly viral, long tail purchase. So they don't purchase early on. These are long tail purchase. And they come through and they have ARPOs in the data that we've seen, and we've worked with our clients, significantly higher than average purchases, 4 to 5 times higher. Very, very powerful, and with a huge K factor. The downside of gifters is they're incredibly fickle. They will give up quickly. They get very angry, they get very political, they get very involved in their social world. But in terms of a subsection to target to deliver huge customer values, these guys are interesting. But we wanted to ask them about their friends, because these are highly viral, highly connected people. And ask them, if you received good CS from any of your apps, would you actually tell your friends about it? And quite clearly, they would. Because this reinforces the idea that customer service is important to these people, but critically, these people are high purchasers, huge ARPUs, they have lots of friends, and they're going to tell everybody. So there is a viral component to this. It is relevant to them. So we wanted to then look at something which is common to all of us, and we've been involved in working with, 15, 20 app developers over the years, and lots of land-based casinos moving into social. And time and time again, when we're involved in managing players or in analysing them or marketing to them, when the app starts to break, all hell breaks loose, and it's horrific. The question is, does it matter? Do players care about the efforts that you're putting in to resolve the issues with the platform and to make them feel better? And of all the data that we've got from this survey of 11,000 social casino players, this is the most skewed. These people are saying that when there's a major problem with an app, you've got, in the casino world, spinning wheels, you can't gift, the packages are wrong, they can't purchase, they're not leveling up correctly, all the classic things I'm sure we've all seen. Good customer service is expected and can overcome a lot of these problems, which means that your customer service needs to be dynamic, and it needs to be active, and it needs to be aggressive. So when the app goes down in the middle of the night and tech support is running around going, oh crikey, our servers are broken, the first thing they do, they contact customer services who have an action plan, who actually have a set of requirements that they need to go through to say, okay, we're going to put notice up on the community, we're going to deal with people directly, we're going to give them hourly updates of what's going on, we're going to email out to our biggest customers. All the people who are cut off from their session, we're going to reach out to them via PM. We're going to probably change the buy coins package and maybe send out some free gifts, change the time bonuses for gifters, give back during that period. And the players are telling us there that this is vitally, vitally important. So just to summarize all that large amount of data, CS is very, very important to the customers. And that good CS really can positively impact a surprisingly wide range of different activities, whether that's viral acquisition, retention, and actually specifically purchase behavior. You need to have a community page, but you need to use it. It's not good enough just to put promotions up. You need to engage with your customers. You need to bring in chat mods and moderators into that group who are players. Let them in, they will love you. Players adore being part of the process. It makes them feel special. And as I said, when we brought them on before, their spend threshold rises significantly. So you can bring your VIPs in there. They become emotionally vested. You don't need to build a big call center or outsource it to an expensive company, because of the response times that are required by the players and the focus on the purchasers. You can do it with a very small team and some automated technology, like the kind of things we have. And those purchasers should get a VIP service. I'm sure you're doing it anyway, but it's vitally important that all purchasers get this. So I appreciate the fact that you've been here during the lunch and that there's surprisingly probably twice as many people at the end as there was at the beginning, which probably means there's a good guy coming on after me. Does anyone have any questions about the data that we've, from this survey, or actually all the surveys we do on a monthly basis?
Is it any different with real money gaming versus social, or is this more for social?
This is very much for social. For real money wagering, you need to have much faster response times. And there's no social care, because gambling for real money is an entirely solitary event. There's no community aspect to it, apart from bingo. Maybe a bit of poker.
Would it benefit if there was a community aspect to?
I think gamblers are fundamentally ashamed of their gambling, and they don't want to share that with the world. You know, it's not something that's socially acceptable to tell people how much you're gambling. So if you're having a problem with a payout, it would be challenging to do that.
In Vegas, the player management people, they call them at home on their birthdays. They send them coffee mugs. Has this showed up? Is this effective?
Yes, and people do it in social. I know a number of apps who do that.
How do you measure the effectiveness of it?
Well, you measure the ROI on the spend. I mean, the Vegas World are a perfect example. Small operator, just around the corner. Everyone who purchases gets a little gift set with a pen. Slotomania send out big gift baskets. Lots of people do it. Yeah, but you know, it all depends on the amount of the threshold of the spend.
Michael Carpenter, are you sending out gift baskets?
We've
Maybe you'll
seen them out
think
there.
about that.
Well, we've seen them out there. Okay. So, anything else?
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you, Andy.
No worries.